lobster, fish and chips, and the £5 billion U-turn. Labour's wild ride on welfare reform. Right. So, picture this. You're at a fancy restaurant. You've ordered the lobster. The waiter brings it out. You take one look and go, "Actually, can I have the fish and chips instead?" That's essentially what Labour did this week with their welfare cuts, except the restaurant was Parliament. The lobster was £5 billion in benefit cuts, and the fish and chips was, well, still controversial, but at least it wasn't completely inedible. Welcome back to UK Plug, where we serve up British politics with a side of chaos and a generous helping of what on earth just happened. If you thought Labour's first few months in power were going smoothly, think again. This week's welfare reform debacle makes a toddler's tantrum look like a masterclass in strategic planning. We're talking about personal independence payments, RPIP for short, which despite sounding like a cheerful greeting, is actually the lifeline that keeps millions of disabled and sick people afloat. Here's where it gets spicy. Labour's grand plan was to slash £5 billion from welfare payments by tightening PIP eligibility and cutting the health element of universal credit. $5 billion. That's not pocket change. That's, we could probably buy a small country money. The government basically walked into Parliament with a sledgehammer, ready to demolish the welfare system like they were on some twisted episode of DIY SOS. But here's the kicker. They forgot to check if their own MPs were on board. It's like planning a surprise party and forgetting to invite the birthday person. The rebellion brewing in Labour ranks was so fierce, you could practically smell the mutiny from Westminster Bridge. Speaking of mutiny, let's talk about Liverpool, because apparently that's where Labour MPs go when they want to have a proper political tantrum. 6 Liverpool City Region Labour MPs decided to channel their inner revolutionary spirit and vote against their own government. Paula Barker, Ian Byrne, Peter Dowd, Kim Johnson, Marie Rimmer, and Derek Twigg, names that will go down in Labour Party history as the Liverpool Six who said not today, Satan to welfare cuts. These MPs call their own government shambolic. And honestly, when your own team is throwing that kind of shade, you know you've messed up spectacularly. It's like Gordon Ramsay calling your cooking disappointing. Technically polite, but absolutely devastating. The scenes in Parliament were so chaotic, they made Prime Minister's questions look like a peaceful book club meeting. MPs were scrambling around like headless chickens, making last-minute concessions left, right, and centre. But wait, there's more. Because apparently one U-turn wasn't enough for this government. They needed to go full circle. So what did Labour do when faced with this rebellion? They performed more U-turns than a loaner driver in a car park. First concession, current PIP claimants keep their benefits as they are. Second concession, universal credit health elements will rise with inflation. Third concession, and this is where it gets properly ridiculous, they now delayed the whole thing until after review by Work and Pensions Minister Stephen Timms. It's like announcing you're going to redecorate your house, then deciding to wait until you've figured out what color paint you want. Except in this case, the house is people's livelihoods, and the paint is their ability to eat and pay rent. Paula Barker's response to these latest concessions? Pure derision. And honestly, can you blame her? It's like your mate promising to pay you back definitely next week for the 15th time. At some point, you just roll your eyes and walk away. Now enter Angela Rayner, stage left, with what might be the most impressive piece of political spin since last week's political spin. Angela Rayner, bless her cotton socks, was dispatched to Liverpool like a political firefighter armed with nothing but a water pistol and some very optimistic talking points. Standing at Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium, because apparently that's where you go when you need to convince people that chaos is actually a well-orchestrated symphony, she insisted that the government was listening. Her message: we got the vote through. We listened. We're getting on. It's the political equivalent of saying everything's fine while your house is burning down behind you. She talked about Labour values and reform agendas with a kind of determination usually reserved for people trying to convince themselves their ex was actually terrible. The best part? She claimed that reform is something all MPs agree on. Right, Angela? That's why 6 of your own MPs just voted against you. It's like saying everyone agrees on pineapple on pizza while standing in a room full of Italians having heart attacks. But here's the thing about all this political theater. Behind the chaos, the U-turns, and the rebellion, there are real people whose lives hang in the balance. Look, regardless of where you stand on welfare reform, this week's events highlight a fundamental issue. You can't govern effectively when you haven't done your homework. Labour walked into this fight without a solid plan, without party unity, and without properly considering the human cost of their proposals. The fact that they had to make concession after concession suggests that the original plan wasn't just unpopular. It was potentially unworkable. When your own MPs are calling your government shambolic, it's time to take a long, hard look in the mirror. But credit where credit's due. At least they listened to the criticism and changed course. That's more than we can say for some previous governments, who shall remain nameless but rhyme with Tories. So, what do you think? Was this week's chaos a sign of a government that listens to its MPs and adapts accordingly? Or was it simply evidence that Labour hasn't quite figured out how to govern yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into British political chaos, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Because let's be honest, with this government, there's bound to be more drama coming our way. Until next time, this is UK Plug, keeping you informed, entertained, and occasionally bewildered by the beautiful mess that is British politics.